Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, near or far, high or low. Welcome back to the Coach D podcast, where we dive deep into the minds of players, trainers, and pros shaping the game today. And listeners, I'm really excited to have a returning guest, pro hooper, and also part of the Canadian national team, Cassandra Brown. In our first conversation, we journey from high school to college, her playing overseas, leadership, and what real basketball culture looks like. Today, we're going to take it further, diving into her experience competing in the 3x3, the growth of Canadian basketball, especially with the emergence of the Toronto Tempo, but also what it really takes to play and thrive at the pro level. So, listeners, please, returning to the podcast, give a warm welcome to Cassandra Brown. Appreciate you.
Oh, thank you for having me. What an intro. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. And just before we even get started, Cassandra, it's halfway through 2025. So I think the most important question, how is your physical and how is your mental?
Yeah, honestly, I'm feeling really good right now. Physically, mentally, I feel like I'm in a really good place. My birthday is actually next week. I'm not gonna disclose how old I'm turning because I'm bringing up there a little bit, but how's that you? Instead of sorry. Well, thank you, thank you. I think so. So yeah, I'm feeling really good. Feel like I'm in actually like the best shape of my career right now, and obviously transitioning into 3x3, you have to be in top tier shape. So that's definitely keeping me in check. But yeah, mentally, I'm feeling like I'm in a really good place as well. So yeah, life is good. Can't complain.
Nice. And just with regards to the growth since the last podcast, I think since the last time we spoke, you touched on your transition to the pro level. And since then, how has your perspective on the game evolved?
Yeah, so I've been playing overseas in Europe. I started out there 7 years or so, and then made my way down to Australia. Stuck around down there for 2 to 3 seasons down in New Zealand as well. And then the past couple years, I've made the transition into 3x3, which has been honestly just an awesome experience. It's been so much fun. Number one, and then number two, just a new challenge. Obviously, being a 5-on-5 vet now. It's just been fun challenging myself in a different way and, kind of expanding my bag as a player. And yeah, it's been awesome.
Right. And this is one thing I've been really getting involved. I mean, I've always been familiar with 3x3, but I guess leading up to when it was announced that it will be a part of the Olympics as well, and just how big it's gotten. We're seeing more teams, more competition. It just honestly looks like a fun time, but it's super competitive. And like you said, Cassandra, you need to be in tip top shape. So for yourself, Cassandra, like how has your role or leadership approach shifted over the years, especially playing on different teams or even in new environments like the 3x3?
Yeah, 100%. I think I'm definitely somebody that is more of a lead by example type of player. I'm vocal when I need to be, but I think for me, it's just most important setting a good example with, how I carry myself as a player and a person and be able to show that leadership, not necessarily being the loudest person in the room, but you can do other things to show leadership. Um,
Mm.
and yeah, of course, just going into 3x3, it's obviously a different game. It's a different sport. So I've taken kind of a back seat and just trying to learn and soak up as much knowledge as I can from the leaders on my team, which has been a really cool transition for me as well. So just, yeah, trying to be humble and just, yeah, soak up as much knowledge as I can. And obviously, no matter what sport you're in or how old you are, like we're always students. So just being able to kind of always take that approach and mindset and just be a learner.
Right. Right, and just with regards to the 3x3 basketball and especially just high level competing, how did you actually get introduced to 3x3 basketball and what drew you to it?
Yeah, so two of my teammates back in the day on 5-on-5, Michelle and Kat Plouffe, obviously, they're icons in the 3x3 space. They had reached out to me a few years back. Yeah. They have reached out to me a few years back, asked me to jump in some tournaments. It didn't work out at the time because I can't remember where I was. I was playing 5-on-5 somewhere at the time. I believe I was in the middle of the season in Australia. Um, yeah, and we just kind of kept in contact that way. And it had worked out that there was one tournament at the end of my season in Australia before I was jumping into my next season in Australia for the WNBL. I had like a 2-week gap, and there was a 3x3 tournament in Hungary. So, yeah, jumped on a flight. It was like I think it took me 40 hours to get there. It was something just absolutely insane. Um, Landed, had one practice, jumped in a tournament. And then yeah, the rest is history. Ever since then, I've been in the mix and I'm on the squad now, and yeah, it's been awesome.
How, because this is one thing I really noticed in just looking at the differences between like 5-on-5 and 3x3. Like, I feel like there's certain affordances or luxuries you're allowed in, let's say, a 5-on-5, for example. You could play a zone and kind of just like bump the cutter or kind of keep track of where the ball is and the player is. But obviously, in a 3x3, you can't really do a zone. Or if you like double team on a pick and roll, even if it's for that split second too long, that person who's rolling to the basket is going to be wide open to score. So for yourself, Cassandra, like what are the biggest differences in mindset and skill set between competing in a 5-on-5 versus the 3x3?
Yeah, great question. Everything, honestly. Everything changes. Everything is different. Honestly, you really have to, quite frankly, you're unlearning everything that you've learned your whole career and your whole athletic career as a 5-on-5 player. So, just simple things like help side, um, spacing, like everything is different. So there's obviously no help side in 3-on-3. You want to shrink the floor instead of, wings normally are in the corner. The spacing is completely different. The strategy is totally different. Everything is different about 3-on-3. So yeah, it's definitely a transition. But I feel like just the more experience you have and the more you play, it starts to feel more natural. But I think for any 5-on-5 player, like initially when they're transitioning, everything feels so awkward because it's the opposite of what you would do in 5-on-5. So you have to unlearn a lot of habits that you've learned throughout your career. So
Right, right. And I think that's one of the benefits, and I'm really starting to do that more with some of my under 16 girls team, is doing a lot of like small sided games like 2-on-2 or 3-on-3, because you have to move, whether it's you're going to get a rebound, you're moving in a better position to receive the ball, or you're going to set a screen. You just can't stand idle, and that's kind of one of the things that I learned with the benefits of playing a 3x3. As long as you have the right reads and the fitness level as well, which we're going to be speaking about later on, I just love the concept of you're always moving. So I guess you kind of mentioned there, Cassandra, you've kind of had to unlearn what you would do in a 5-on-5 setting. Like, how do you train differently to stay sharp for 3x3 events, especially when at times you could be juggling both formats?
do you mean like from a physical standpoint?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, so training definitely looks different. I something I'm still trying to figure out. I feel like I confidently can say I have a better grasp on it now than when I first did when I started playing. Um,
Right.
so typically, like for a 5-on-5, obviously you're just playing games, you're playing pickup, you're doing your individual small group training, all of that. But for 3x3, it's like your level of intensity when you train, like it has to be a 10.
Yeah.
And I feel like when I will train for 5-on-5, I work hard. I'm a hard worker, but when I look at how I train now, it's like you have to have a very short level of intensity. It has to be short and sharp, but your RPE has to get to a 10 because when you're playing 3-on-3, your RPE is at a 10 constantly. Like they call it a 10-minute sprint for a reason because it is quite, you're right, a 10-minute sprint. Like you said, you're always moving. There's no break. So when you're training for threes, that's how you have to train. So maybe you don't do an hour long individual. Like or if you're doing cross training, I do a lot of CrossFit and like high rock style training, which I found has helped me a lot. So yeah, being able to combine strength and power with cardio and endurance. So doing a lot of circuit style training that when you're doing that, like making sure that your RPE is at a 10. So maybe it's only a 10-minute, 15-minute, 20-minute workout, but when you're doing that, like you're gassing yourself exhaustion. I think that's really helped me a lot. So yeah, it's very different training from 5-on-5.
And hats off for you because it's starting to pop up on my feed a lot with the high rocks training, and that is a next level of fitness. I mean, I get exhausted just from looking at it, to be honest, because
Yeah.
it's like it's like circuit training, but there's no breaks. You're like pulling rope, then you got to run a lap around, and then you got to do like lifts and push-ups. So like how actually did you get introduced to that, and like how are you seeing some of the crossover benefits? Because it looks super intense.
Yeah, it definitely is. I really enjoy it though. I think it's fun. Maybe I'm crazy, but I enjoy it. I sort of introduced myself to it, to be honest. Last summer, our strength and conditioning coach with Canada Basketball, we were sort of playing around with different ways we could replicate game simulations for 3x3. So we would do a lot of bike simulations. So assault bike is like my worst enemy, but my best friend. I find that that is a really good way to cross train for 3x3 because you're mixing, like I said, the strength and resistance with cardio and endurance. So being able to kind of replicate that and just doing more interval training. So maybe you're going 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off for 5 rounds, and then you're going to go 20 seconds on, 20 seconds off, 5 rounds, 10 on, 10 off, 5 rounds. So that only turns out to be maybe like a 15-minute workout. But when you're going, like I said, you're gassing yourself to exhaustion. And I find that that's the best way to kind of replicate how you're going to feel when you're on the court for 3x3.
Right. And this is another thing I've even noticed with the 3x3. I feel like certain skills and requirements in order for a team to be successful is heightened even more in a 3x3 setting because the game is so quick. If you're not communicating consistently, or if you don't have that feel for each other with regards to all the three players are moving on the same page, you're gonna get burnt even more so, especially in a 3x3. So I mean, the level that you compete at, Cassandra, how would you describe the chemistry and communication needed for a strong 3x3 team?
Yeah, super, super important. Honestly, even more important than 5-on-5, I would say. Kind of just like you touched on, like you have to be on point all the time. There's no room for error. Um, in 5-on-5, you definitely have more room for error than you do in 3x3. Also, kind of just like you said, there's nowhere to hide, and like you will get exposed. So if you're not, you misplay, you're not communicating. If um what else? Like, there's just so many things that go into the game that, yeah, if you're screwing something up, you will get exposed no matter what. Whereas 5-on-5, there's more places to hide on the court, you know? Sometimes you do mistakes and they go unnoticed, or your teammate covers you and they have your back on help side. Like, you don't have that in 3x3. So you really have to be like mentally and physically sharp every single play.
Right. Right, and we see that you're representing Canada. I mean, I went there last year, and it was there's just something. I mean, you know this like the back of your hand, Hassan. There's something different about Canada, man. Like for me, it honestly holds a special place in my heart because I got family there, but I was able to really experience the basketball culture and even just the sports culture over there. Like it was unique because when you go there, you're either seeing a Toronto Raptors jersey, a Toronto FC jersey, or you're seeing the Blue Jays. Like, because it's literally that country has only one sports team that represents the whole country. So the support is just super huge. And it's now even amazing to know that there's going to be Toronto Tempo that's going to be a part of the W as well. So when you kind of look at how you started basketball and how the culture has grown? Like, what type of memories do you look back at? And in your eyes, how has the basketball culture grown in Canada?
Yeah, I think even more so just from Canada, from a Canadian standpoint, obviously, but just from a female athlete standpoint, I think right now it's such an exciting time to be a female athlete and especially a women's basketball player. Like, obviously, the growth and the popularity
Right.
for women's basketball right now is skyrocketing. Like, everyone wants to be a women's basketball player right now, and it's so
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Um, feel like growing up that it wasn't a thing. Not that it wasn't cool to play basketball, but it's definitely a lot cooler now. I think there's a lot more incentive. There's a lot more eyes on the game, visibility, everything. Like, it's just a really exciting time. So yeah, growing up, I came from a really small town. Didn't have a lot of resources in my small town for me to succeed. So I definitely had to go to the bigger cities. For me, that was Vancouver. So I spent a lot of my weekends going out to Vancouver to get into national team programs and whatnot. So for me, I had to be very self motivated and not really having trainers or resources or anybody really in my town. I kind of took it upon myself to make it happen, which I think at the end of the day was kind of a blessing in disguise because it got me to where I am today. So
True.
yeah, it's been a ride for sure, but I am super grateful and I'm really thankful to still be playing and still be healthy and yeah.
What does this, because I mean, when you hear news like that, especially just on the women's basketball side now, I mean, even you said it, Cassandra, now like you have young girls who are growing up and they have now the Toronto Tempo and players like yourself to aspire to, and it's really an exciting time. So what does this mean for the future of Canadian basketball, would you say?
Yeah, I think we're absolutely headed in the right direction. Like, of course, getting the tempo in Toronto, that's massive. I think it's about time we have a WNBA team here. So,
Right, right.
yeah, just seeing seeing the league expand is really exciting and just providing more opportunity. It's super competitive league, and there's a lot of phenomenal women's basketball players across the world. Of course, like, playing in Europe and in Australia the past 10 years, like, there's so many phenomenal players and so much talent that has never even gotten, like, a crack at the league just because there's not enough teams, not enough positions that yeah, it's about time that, the league is expanded and just providing more opportunities and, more resources for girls and women to be able to play at a high level.
Right. And even on that, like, it's funny because we had Luol Deng, and he was speaking about at the time, and it's definitely gotten better now within UK basketball, where players are in order for them to get better, because we don't have that structure or that player pathway that's super clear yet, but it's definitely growing and I'm excited to see it grow. They have to go to the US or overseas and then come back to play professionally. But for yourself, do you think more Canadian athletes will now stay local rather than going to the US or overseas?
Yeah, that's a great question. Do you mean more in the sense of like from college or on a professional level or both?
Um, I was thinking more professional, but now that you said college, yeah, like so from both angles, college and the pros.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm not really sure. It's a great question. I think obviously the more opportunity that we have in the country is going to give our players more incentive to play in the country. Whereas before, we were almost forced to have to go play in the States or for college NCAA or go play overseas to be able to get that, top tier talent and like the best competition. But if we're able to keep that in house and be able to provide that as a country, I think that will for sure, keep more of our talent in Canada for sure.
Mhm. And when it comes to player development and mentality, like what are three things young players should prioritize in their skill development today, especially those looking to go pro?
Yeah, great question. Um, I would probably say, first of all, mentality, like, you have to want it.
Yeah,
Nobody else can tell you to go after it and get after it, like, you have to really, really want it, so don't go for it if you're not, like, 100%. If you're passionate about it, there's gonna be a lot of adversity you're gonna face along your journey, and, you
yeah,
have to be able to bet on yourself and know that, like, this is what you wanna do, so, I would just say, yeah, making sure that this is what you want for yourself, and 2, I would say get yourself out of your comfort zone. So whatever that may be, like,
mhm,
force yourself to get outside your comfort zone and challenge yourself in that way because it's super easy to stay inside our comfort zone where it's safe and uh
sure,
we won't, but we're not going to grow that way. So being able to find opportunities for yourself that are going to challenge you and might be scary, but like that's where growth happens and that's where you're going to propel your careers by doing stuff outside your comfort zone. Um and then, yeah, I would say just do more than what's required of you. So, kind of touching on my first point, like you have to really want it. So, if you want to be a pro, you want to get to the next level, you have to do more than what your coach is telling you to do, or your mom, or your dad, or your teammates, or whatever. Like making sure you're putting yourself in a position that you can be successful, whether that's getting up early before school to get extra shots up, staying late after practice, watching film with your coach, um, studying YouTube clips. Like there's so many more resources here. Like there's just always ways to get better. And I just feel like, yeah, making sure that you're always doing more than what's required.
out of curiosity, Cassandra, what keeps you a bit of both, like, what keeps you so grounded being a pro, but also why do you still wake up every single day and why do you have such a strong passion for basketball? Because I mean, there's probably people or athletes who's reached your level and they kind of just either hit the plateau, like, okay, I've made it, I've represented my country, I can kind of chill now. I don't really need to sharpen up my skills and I'm kind of just complacent where I am. But I can just tell how you play and just how you carry yourself. You're still, I mean, you said it in the beginning of the podcast, you're very much still a student of basketball. So why is basketball still so special to you? And even at the level you compete at, why do you still remain a student?
Yeah, great question. Um, you know what? I don't really know. I think that's just kind of the way I am. It's just my DNA. I just love to learn and I think I'm just so lucky and blessed and grateful to still be playing at a high level and obviously being able to represent my country. I feel like that's any athlete or person's dream. So it's something, I don't take lightly and I'm really proud of and grateful that I am where I am. And yeah, I just feel like no matter what I'm doing, when I wake up in the morning, I want to give it 100%, whether that's on the court or off the court. Yeah, and I just think as an athlete, I'm so lucky to be doing what I'm doing. Um,
Yeah.
I've kind of entered the workforce this summer to kind of plant some seeds for life after basketball, and
Isn't
it makes me very like I say this with all due respect to all the working people out there, but it really gives me a lot of perspective and makes me even more grateful to be doing what I'm doing and being able to play a game as a living and travel the world and shoot a basketball. I mean, like what more could you ask for? So it's only right that I give the game the same amount of effort and passion and love and respect that it's given to me. So yeah,
Mhm.
I just feel really lucky to be able to do what I do. So
Right, right. And just for those who only see Cassandra when she's making the game-winning shot, or she does a crazy handle and finish, or the post up, or how she sees that court vision and pass, like they just see the highlights, which is great, but they don't necessarily see the hours, the rest, the recovery, the film study, the challenging time. So how do you stay mentally locked in during long seasons, especially when traveling and you're dealing with fatigue or even setbacks?
Yeah, I think kind of just piggybacking off of what I said, I think perspective is huge. So when you are going through hard times or you are facing adversity, it's just being able to keep that perspective and knowing that I'm very lucky to be doing what I'm doing. And there's thousands of players and girls that would love to be in my spot. So whether I have a bad practice, a bad day, a bad game, a bad shooting night, whatever, like just being able to keep that perspective and just staying optimistic. Like I think I naturally I'm a really optimistic and positive person. So um just being able to kind of shift your mindset when negative stuff does happen. Like it's kind of having like that next play mentality. Like, yeah, okay, that was a bad shooting night and I played like crap, whatever. Like, but knowing, okay, I have enough games under my belt, enough great games under my belt to know that, I am a great player and just having that self-belief. So kind of just being able to let things roll off your back and have that next play mentality is really important, not just in basketball, but in life.
Very true. Very, very true. And I mean, you've trained, played with high level athletes. So, from your opinion and experience, Cassandra, like what separates average players from elite ones, not just in skill, but in mindset and work habits?
Yeah, I think mental toughness is huge. If you want to be an elite player, you have to be mentally tough. Like I said, like every player, we're all going to have bad games. Like even the best players in the world have bad shooting nights. It's going to happen, but being able to still be mentally strong enough to know um, that a great game is ahead of you. Like you're one shot away from breaking out of your shooting slump. Um, just always having that inner self belief is massive. Um, and yeah, you're going to go through lots of highs and lots of lows in your career. There's going to be peaks, there's going to be valleys, but just being able to maintain like a level of consistency. I think if you want to be a pro, like that's the huge thing. You have to be consistent. You can't be a pro if you're not consistent. You have to be consistent in your mentality, in your performance, in your preparation. I think that's a massive thing. And then also kind of just circling back to what I mentioned at the beginning is just being able to do more than what's required of you. Like the bare minimum is not enough. It is maybe at an amateur level, but once you get to a pro, you have to do more than what's required of you. And it has to be you pushing yourself to do that. So yeah.
Right. And I could just tell, even from what you were speaking about before, like you're able to make that distinction between, okay, this is just a basketball game. If I miss or if I win or lose, yes, I'm gonna be frustrated and I'm gonna get to work at it, but I'm still gonna have people back home who will still love, care for me, and they care about my mental well-being. So for yourself, Cassandra, like how do you balance Cassandra the player, but also Cassandra the person?
Mhm. Yeah. So being able to keep perspective and also just knowing there is life outside of basketball, I think is really huge. I think earlier on in my career, I I would still say I was pretty mentally tough, but if I were to have a bad game, like I would spiral. Like it would be the end of the world would be crashing down around me because I had a bad shooting night. And I think just being able to, like I said, have maintain that perspective and know that, there is life outside of basketball and being able to have other things off the court that give you fulfillment and purpose as well, I think is really, really important. Um, I know some of like my best seasons are, when I have other stuff going on outside of the court. And because when your sole like purpose is just basketball and that's all you think about, you're just like, I don't know, it's kind of, can't what's I guess what's the word? society wants you to just think like you have to have all your eggs in one basket and like, okay, you're a pro basketball player. Like you just need to think basketball, basketball, basketball 24/7. But I think like being able to have a balance is really, really important. Um, Mentally, I don't think it's healthy or sustainable if you're just like thinking about basketball and playing basketball 24/7. Like I when I'm playing basketball, I'm on the court, I'm giving it 110% and I'll do all the extra things that I need to do to make myself a great player. But other than that, like being able to do other stuff that fills your cup as well and makes you feel good and gives you self-esteem, but just being able to have a balance off of the court as well and not just solely put your whole purpose and identity into basketball because that's dangerous. Like we're all more than athletes and being able to identify who you are outside of your sport, I think.
Because this is something that I've really gotten a deeper understanding of is overseas pros, because you're away from family, friends, you're missing weddings, birthdays, just important moments in life. And it's definitely a huge sacrifice. And we just ask you like some regular life questions. And you kind of just spoke about leadership. What's the biggest misconception players have about what it means to be a leader on the court?
I would probably say, like I touched on earlier, is I think a lot of people think that leadership has to be loud or leadership looks loud. It like, the loudest person in the room is the leader. I don't think in some cases that is the case and that's fine. Some people, are just naturally louder, but I think also leadership can look different for many different people in many different ways. So, um whether that's just being the hardest working person on the floor, maybe you're the first person in the gym getting extra work in before practice starts. Maybe it's checking in on your teammates if you know they had a bad day or, maybe something's wrong. You're, showing leadership and you're caring about your teammates off the court as well, not just on the court. There's just a lot of different ways that you can show leadership rather than just being the loudest person in the room. So I think finding your style as a leader, and kind of what value you can bring to the team, in different ways, I think is really important. So just being self-aware and knowing what your leadership style is really important.
Mhm. Right. And you've played in so many systems, and I'm curious to know, Cassandra, like what are the common traits of a strong basketball coach that players and coaches can build today?
Yeah, I think number one, like caring about the person first before the player or the athlete, I think is really, really important.
So key. Yeah.
As a coach, building trust is like I mean, that's huge. Like your players have to trust you for you to be able to buy in and for your team to be able to buy in. So, I feel like players can kind of suss out pretty quickly whether their coach just looks at them as a player and just like a transactional relationship, which a lot of the times that is the way it is overseas and it's a business. And um, yeah, it's not awesome at times, but I think, what makes the good coaches stand out or the great coaches stand out from the good coaches is coaches that care about who you are as a person off the court. I think it goes a really long way. And then it just, as a player, makes you want to buy in for them. So yeah, just being able to, show your players respect and care and love and, really make them feel valued and seen and heard and care about them more as a person off the floor, not just a basketball player, I think is really important.
Well, it's like people who look at you and they see you pull off some of these difficult shots, or to you, the game looks so easy and they think behind the scenes you're doing like a crazy workout plan. What are some of the, because I was speaking to shout out to Dan Petts, who coaches for Great Britain. He was saying, sometimes at the pro level, what they do well is not the fancy stuff, it's just the simple things like on ball defense, right hand layup, left hand layup. They have great footwork, poise. Like, what are some of the simple things that you still do to this day just to keep you sharp and fine-tuned before you play like a 3x3 tournament, would you say?
Yeah, I think that's really important. I think, like, being able to just be fundamentally sound and being able to do what you do really well. I remember one of our national team coaches told me after a tryout, I had a really, really great training camp. I shot the crap out of the ball. Like, I shot really, really well. And although probably the first thing on the scouting report for me as a player is shooter, um, I have a lot of other aspects to my game other than just being a shooter. But in that camp, I did what I'm supposed to do really well. So I think being a versatile player is super, super important. It's something I pride myself on, but also having that niche as a player and like being able to fulfill that niche at 100%. So especially when you get to a pro level, and like you even see like guys in the NBA and stuff, it's like, okay, any of them can go out and score 30 points a game or something, but like, what can you do that nobody else can do? It might even just be like a defensive presence or like setting really good screens or making the extra pass, but like having a solid identity as a player and being able to showcase that at a really high level, I think is really important. So just having that niche and like and being really good at what you do. It doesn't have to be 20 different things, but having one or two things that you're really good at and fans are going to look at you for and just being able to excel in those.
Right, and just even because I was watching a lot of the 3x3, and I believe I was watching your matchup against, Poland, and just even in all the other matchups, your on-ball defensive presence, but you're very physical. Even when you're guarding the pick and roll and the person's rolling, you're very much hands-on, boxing them out so you can get the rebound. How do you or how did you become comfortable with the physical side of basketball? And then how did you kind of learn later on how to use that to your advantage? Like if someone's really trying to front the post or push you out, you've like spun or you don't get flustered by the physicality.
Yeah, it's actually so funny because growing up, like my teammates and coaches would always make fun of me for like not being physical enough and not wanting to be touched or touch anybody, which I
Wow.
don't know whether that was true or not, but that was always like a knock. Yeah, it was always a knock against me as a player for never being physical enough. And now I think I'm like overly physical, possibly. I don't feel like I am, but when I go back and watch, I do like, physicality is a big part of my game now, which I'm happy about because all the haters back in the day, they said I wasn't physical. So, um, but yeah, as a 3x3 player, physicality is super, super important. So you can't step on the 3x3 court and not expect any physicality. So I think, yeah, just adding that into my game. And I think, I don't know if there was a turning point for me as a player, but I just think naturally as my career progressed, it's something that I just added into my game. And I think whether it's 5-on-5 or 3-on-3, like it is really important to be able to be physical and be able to take it, be able to dish it as well. So as a 3-on-3 player, it's definitely something that is really important and it's a huge part of the game. So
For sure. For sure. And even with that, because the I mean, I even tell my under 16 girls this: mistakes are going to happen. And I'm not concerned with the mistake. I'm more concerned with what you choose to do after that mistake. Are you gonna turn over the ball, head down, just walk back on defense, or are you gonna turn that frustration into your advantage where you're gonna run back, try and get the steal or call the screen, or you get frustrated, get that rebound? So for yourself, especially in the 3x3 tournaments, like how do you hold teammates accountable while still keeping relationships strong?
yeah, great question. I think that's what's really cool about 3x3 is like you have to have a really tight knit group. You have to have good chemistry. You have to have good communication. Um, and like you said, in 3x3, you mistakes happen all the time, but you have to move on quickly.
Yeah.
And I think this is kind of steering away from your question a little bit, but I think just as like a development piece for especially young players. I think it's so great for them to get into 3x3 early because, when you're young, it's like, and even like I said, you make mistakes or you have bad games and you just like go into self implosion mode. But in 3x3, you don't have time to do that. So it forces you to let go of your mistakes quickly, which, a lot of the girls that I've trained in my career and throughout my business and stuff is like they let the mistakes just compound. And in 3-on-3, you can't do that. So I think it's really important
Yeah. Yeah.
for young players to get into 3x3 just for that from that standpoint. But going back to your question, yeah, it's definitely important that the communication piece is massive and it has to be there. So when you're huddling during those timeouts, it's like you have to figure out stuff quickly and figure it out on the fly, and holding each other accountable and having like that open line of communication is super massive, especially not having a coach on the court with you. Is like, as players, we have to be the ones holding each other accountable. So I think that's super important.
Right. And correct me if I'm wrong, Cassandra. I believe I'm not sure how recent it was, but you put on your coaching hat and you had on your own group of girls to coach. I believe they were called the Elite or something Elite, I believe.
Yeah, yeah. So I opened my own business in 2022. So CB Elite Training, which has been really awesome. It's something I've been able to take with me overseas as well. And yeah, just be able to provide young females with a space to be able to learn and showcase their skills and do skill development, mental training, all the things. So yeah, it's been really awesome. I've been able to run school clinics, international camps, and then whenever I'm back home, I always love to put on winter, summer camps when I can. So something I'm super passionate about, and yeah, I just feel like basketball has given me so much, so it's only right that I give back in any way that I can.
Absolutely. And how was that like being that quick transition from player to coach? Like, what are some of your own like coaching philosophies that you kind of tend to preach first and then you speak about other things after? Like, what is your approach to coaching?
Yeah, I think sort of like I mentioned earlier, just having like a really organic style and being able to coach the player, or sorry, not the player, the person first before the player,
Yeah.
I think is really important. I really pride myself on, being able to have personal relationships with my players and the girls that I'm coaching. And I truly like care about them as people first. I want to learn about them and their lives and, what they like to do off the court. And just as much as I want to help them improve on the court. So just being able to be a positive role model for them. And I also think just touching on the mental training side as well is something I've kind of been trying to dive into is, yeah, the mindset space and being able to prepare them with, skills and ways that they can challenge themselves mentally and be able to, succeed on the court, but off the court as well.
Right. And from your perspective, when you look at some of the girls that you coach, whether it's their first sessions or even the trials, was there like a common thing that you saw, wow, like they're really lacking in this department from like a physical standpoint, skill set standpoint, or even just a mindset standpoint?
Yeah, I would say for sure, mentally, a lot of young female athletes struggle with their confidence. I think that's like the first thing, which is why it's so important for me to pour into them as people, not just athletes, like be able to help them develop that self esteem, that inner confidence, that self belief. Because a lot of them, they do have the skill, but the self doubt and the fear of failure and the lack of confidence is just so massive. And it's such a huge barrier that it's almost like, okay, we need to find ways to fix this and help you move forward and mentally before we can even get to the skill stuff, because you can have all the skill in the world, but if you don't believe in yourself, or you don't think you're going into a game thinking, I'm scared, I'm not going to have a good game, I'm going to mess up, I'm going to make mistakes, like you've already lost. So just being able to kind of shift their mindset and help them in that way, I think is super super important.
What was the biggest highlight from that experience when you had those girls and you was able to coach them?
Biggest highlight? I think just, I think just knowing that, I hopefully am a positive role model for them, and I never really had a mentor or any positive female role models in my community growing up. So I think just, yeah, knowing that I can be, and hopefully I am for them, and just giving them a safe space to be able to come and learn and express themselves, and know that I'm making a positive difference in their life. Like, I hope it's fulfilling for them, but it really is very fulfilling for me. And every time I walk away from a coaching session, like, I just feel really good. I know that I made a positive impact on whoever it is that I'm training, and
Yeah.
they walked away hopefully not just a better player, but a better person too. So yeah, it's really self-rewarding, honestly, as I'm sure you know as well as the coach, just knowing that you're making a positive impact and a positive difference in their lives. Like, it makes you feel good.
What's your message to them?
Good question. So many messages. I would say biggest message. What could I say? Um, I would probably say, why not you? I think for me, I came from a really, really small town with not a lot of opportunity or resources, like I'd mentioned. So I have that underdog mentality, and I'm not supposed to be here right now. Like, I'm not supposed to be where I am. I didn't have all the things growing up to kind of put me in this position to be here today. So I would say, even if, you feel like the odds are stacked against you, or um, you know, maybe you don't think that you have, yeah, the resources to get where you are, like, just believe in yourself and know that, like, anything is possible. If I can do it, you can do it. And if you want something bad enough, you're going to find a way to make it happen. So just work hard, keep believing in yourself, and just doing, yeah, like I said earlier, doing more than what's required of you. Like, always be the hardest worker. Like, don't let yourself get outworked. Being able to, you know, go to sleep
Yeah.
at night and knowing that you gave your all that day, and whatever it is that you did, just always finding the time to make yourself better. Even if it's not a huge thing, just doing the little 1% things every day to make yourself a better player in person, I think are really important.
Right. Right. And I mean, that's just powerful, to be honest, what you said, like, why not you? That really resonated, because I mean, you just mentioned something that I think is super key. And I've really noticed that with some of the players that I coach is the confidence. And it's crazy because they'll have the physical attributes that they could be quick, or they've got the height just to catch the ball and score. But it's the one thing I learned is you could have a player or just a person who their skill set is a 10 out of 10, but if their confidence is like a 3 that day, the skill set is gonna drop right down to where the level of the confidence is. So, I mean, it's that confidence, like you said, really just plays a super huge role. Super, super huge role. So love that. Love that. And making that transition now just to the last part of the podcast with the Beyond the Game segment. I've done this before when I had you on the first time, but I'm super curious now, just being at a different point in your career and just in life as well. The first one, Cassandra, is what would you say is this could be a skill for basketball or just life in general? What is a skill that is taught by many but only mastered by a few?
Oh, a hard-hitting question. That's a good one. You got me stumped. Let me think. Can you repeat it? Repeat it one more time.
Take your time, please. Of course. It's a skill that is taught by many but only mastered by a few.
I would say, from an athletic standpoint, consistency.
Mm. Why do you mean that?
I think just being able to, like I mentioned earlier, if you want to be able to get to a pro level, consistency, I would say, is like the number one thing. On the court and off the court, being consistent again, in your habits, in your preparation, in your work ethic, in your performance. It's just very, very important that you remain consistent, and you can't make it to the next level if you don't have that sense of consistency.
Mm, very true. Very true, which leads me to the next question. The best piece of advice you ever received?
You know what? I feel like that question gets asked a lot, and I change my answer all the time. So
All cool. All good.
I think I mean, that's a good thing because I've received a lot of great advice in my career for sure. Um, I think the one that sticks out to me, especially as I get a little bit older, is just to really enjoy the journey. Like at the end of the day, the ball is going to stop bouncing. That is the reality for all of us. So just really being able to enjoy the journey and know that yeah, is bigger than basketball, and having that perspective, knowing that, we're really lucky to be able to do what we do. And, at times, of course, there's gonna be hard times. It's not all gonna be, rainbows and butterflies, but
Yes.
just being able to maintain that sense of enthusiasm and know that as a professional basketball player, I'm very, very lucky to be doing what I'm doing. So even on the mornings where, I'm waking up sore or maybe I'm not feeling motivated to go to lift or whatever, like there's so many people that would die to be in my shoes, so just being able to
Mm.
kind of maintain that mindset and enjoy it, like, just have fun with it. I'm
Right.
I'm super lucky to be here and to still be doing what I'm doing, so
Love that. Love that. And just the final two, if it wasn't for basketball, I wouldn't have learnt filling the blank about myself.
oof, so good. So many things, honestly. Um,
Ooh,
hmm,
okay.
so many things, so many things. If it wasn't for basketball,
That's good. Just like that.
I would probably say ooh, I don't know, that's tough. That's tough, that's tough. Ooh, okay.
And I would things to be honest, if you want.
Okay, okay. I would say, adaptability. So, I think basketball has just taught me how adaptable of a human I am, not just on the court, but more so even off the court. I've lived in I don't know how many different countries now, but being able to kind of just get thrown into a new country every season and being able to
There.
acclimate myself and, yeah, being able to just kind of rearrange my life so consistently throughout my career, it's really just shown me how adaptable of a human I am.
Love that. Love that. And just the final one, I'm gonna set the scene for you. So there's a girl, Cassandra, growing up in Canada, and she's seen you play, and she's been inspired by you, and she's just now found out that you've written a book. So she's on her way after practice to her nearest bookstore, and she asks the librarian, "Excuse me, do you know where the latest book from Cassandra Brown is?" And the librarian's like, "Oh yeah, of course. You just go up the stairs, turn right, you go to the best-selling sports section. You can't miss it. It's on the top shelf." So she's going up the stairs now. She's super excited. She finds the aisle, sees your book, Cassandra, and she brings it down. And the question I've got for you, Cassandra, is what would the title of your autobiography be?
Oh, man, these are hard questions. Oh, okay, I feel like this is, like, a super cliche answer, but bet on yourself.
That's powerful though. Yeah. Yeah. That's true. And this podcast, yeah, no, literally, literally, because this podcast just has been a testament to how you've taken everything in grace, but also through hard work, determination, being around the right people, and again, just counting your blessings. Because I mean, like you said, Cassandra, like you've met so many amazing people coaches, players, you've seen different parts of the world you never even imagined, and it's just all come from your love and passion of the sport, you know. So when you have moments like that, I don't know, like how do you feel when you kind of just go through your highlights of where you started to where you are now, all through basketball? Like what feelings and memories come to mind?
Yeah, honestly, just, like, pure joy and gratitude. I think as athletes, as, we're on our journey and, we're so self-motivated and we're always thinking about what's next, and we're chasing success constantly. It's rare for us to kind of slow down and, think about everything that we've done and we've already accomplished, and I think also being an elite athlete and having that mindset, we don't really look backwards enough to be able to self-reflect and kind of give ourselves a pat on the back and, be proud of ourselves for doing everything that we've done. And I definitely fall guilty of that. I don't think I do that enough, but I think it's really, really awesome being able to have conversations with people like you to kind of um, be able to remind ourselves of, who we are and what we have done, and being able to, yeah, kind of consistently check in with yourself and remind yourselves of those things, but also not being complacent and always wanting more for yourself.
Yeah.
I think is key as well. But yeah, just having those little moments of reflection and being able to just show yourself um some, grace and give yourself a pat on the back and keep pushing for success.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And this was honestly a real treat and a gem for me just to continue to learn from you, to be honest. And I'm sure the listeners, and even the young girls who are going to be watching and listening are super inspired. And just for those who want to reach out to you on the socials, or they want to follow Team Canada in their 3x3 and just follow your journey as a person and a player when it comes to the socials, Cassandra, where can they find you?
That's hilarious because I don't even know my IG handle like off the top of them. What is my IG handle? Let's see. Okay, I got it. Oh, double underscore. That's where you can follow me.
Boom. Here we go.
Love that. Love that. And on that note, listeners, appreciate your time. Please check in with Cassandra, follow her journey, especially on the 3x3 tour as well. This is myself, Coach D, and Cassandra Brown signing out.
Thank you.